So look, we have a very short presentation tonight. We're going to have an awesome Women in Tech panel, and then we had all of our kind of things that we do here physically at the event. We actually did them online today. So during dinner, we're actually going to replay that. So I'm going to make a couple comments, and we're going to do. We're going to have our panelists, our sponsor come up. In fact, let's just do that now. Avaya is our global diamond sponsor, and I would like to have Karen Hardy please come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Jim.
You're mic'd up, good.
Okay, I'm mic'd up.
Go
All
ahead.
right, hey everyone. Look, I don't know about you, but I've been behind a camera for the last 2 years. So this is fantastic. Thank you, Jim, for hosting this evening. It's wonderful. And Jim, all the work you do and your team does, I think we all benefit from it. If you don't know Avaya, we're a leading provider in cloud communications. Back 2 years ago, we had at least 2 million of our customers, agents that had to work from home. They're all still working from home and working from anywhere. And I think that's for all of us. The whole tech industry is rapidly changing, and we have to take this new sort of hybrid model and flexible work environment into consideration. So that's all I've got to say. I'm looking forward to the panel. I'm looking forward to talking with everyone and socializing. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sponsors make the world go round. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors, but besides Avaya, Contentsquare, RingCentral, and Fuse, all gold sponsors. So we want to thank all of our sponsors very much. So just a quick retrospective. We've been doing this event since 2011, and we actually started the event in 2011, the year we were founded, at this hotel with a lot fewer people than we have here. But look, the great thing is going from like 300 people 2 years ago to a virtual happy hour, which was actually kind of fun for those of you that participated. We had a great bartender company that kind of did an online thing that we had a wild time last year. One guy was wearing like a motorcycle helmet, during the cocktail. I was like, what is this guy doing? But we had a good time. And for some of you, we actually had a lot of fun last year doing virtual happy hours. And people were like, could we do all of our inquiries like that? But here, the big thing is, we didn't know how many people were going to show up tonight. And, we had some discussions beforehand where like, somebody had an event with 750 people registered and 40 people showed up. But we didn't want this to be big. We just wanted this to be fun and safe, and I think it is. So hopefully we can, if we can all fly on a plane with 400 people, we can maybe get 50 to 60 people together and do it safely, just like flying on a plane. And I flew 10 times this year, and I'm still standing. So take your vitamin D and all that sort of stuff. So just a couple other things. It is amazing every single year when we get together, we have people that say, I want to come to your event. And they come from all over the world. And somebody said right before this, I didn't know you guys were global. Well, all I want to say is one of the fastest growing companies in Europe, Max Pellegrini, the CEO of Namarial, is here. Max, give Max a shout out. So he pinged us, said, I think I want to come to your event. So Max, thank you very much for traveling all the way from Milan, or Milano, as some of you know, for coming here, and we appreciate it. So if you don't know them, they're big in transaction management and digital transformation, and they just became an AI company. So congratulations, and again, thank you for coming. But the other thing is when you look at, when we started this event 10 years ago, and some of you know I was at Gartner for a long time, and then I went to a startup, a publicly traded startup. And that first year when we said, hey, we're going to do this event, so I kind of called some of my former directs and said, I'm doing this event. You need to come here. You need to come to this event. And guess what? They all came. So one guy that actually has been here every year for the last 10 years, and he was a great guy to work with. I'd like to congratulate Nog for being here all 10 years. Nog's the chief product officer at a company called Athere, pretty cool AR company doing a lot of great things. But that's not it. I mean, the other thing is when I started the company, it's kind of lonely when you start a company, right? The only thing that's talking to is your email, right? It's like, hey, did you respond to this email, right? And some people are like, who are you? Do they want to work with you? I do want to give a shout out to one of our associates who's not only our CFO, but also a board member, Patricia Sweeney. So Patricia was here 10 years ago. And the other thing I would just say to you is, I did grow up in a company called Xerox, and half my managers were women. And so one of the things we started doing in 2017 was trying to recognize, not just recognize, but to celebrate, everyone, but particularly out here to celebrate and to encourage women to do better in technology. Because as you know, it ain't always a fair game. So we're gonna have a panel a little bit, but I wanna just give a shout out because we're gonna play the videos, but at least one of the two people that won in the past is here. So Payal could not make it from Boston, but Anne from Cisco is here, past Women in Tech winner. And just so we're clear, we have almost 25 women executives that are on a team and on a committee, and Aragon gets 2 votes out of like 25 votes. So when you hear about the people that win that will be on the video, there's 2 of them that are here tonight, and they actually happen to be from the same company. So Genefa and Kira are Women in Tech winners. And look, so it's become a movement, all right? And we said in 2017, steal this, make it part of your own, do WIT, hashtag Women in Tech, hashtag WIT, and guess what? Everybody is doing it. So if you're here and you haven't been nominated by your team, you need to ask your team, why didn't you nominate me? Seriously. Because as you go up in the ranks, there's fewer of us, the women, and let's put it this way, we don't have enough nominations in some of the executive ranks, which means, we have a lot of clients. Like, how come you didn't nominate your boss? So that's just something I would say as a hint. But what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna ask my panel to come up here, is we're actually gonna do our Women in Tech panel live here in Silicon Valley, and we're gonna record it, we'll be playing it back. But we want to have our distinguished panel please join me on stage, and we're going to talk about this whole topic live and in color, unvarnished, anything goes. So could Karen, Danielle, Kira, and Genefa please join me up on stage?
You good?
So look, it's always important when you do a panel, whether you're on whatever news channel it is, to make sure that the audience knows the panel. So I'm going to start with Karen. So what we want to do is talk to us about how you got started in tech and because we're all in tech companies. What drew you into tech, and how did it go for you?
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so you can tell from my accent, I am not from the US. I grew up in cloudy UK, and about 30 years ago, I got a job as a marketing assistant in London with a company who, ironically, was a reseller of Avaya Definity switches. They were also an early pioneer of codecs and video technology as well. And I started at the bottom of the ranks with literally a mop and a bucket. I supported 3 senior product marketing managers who were all males, and I worked on various product projects. It was anything from new product introduction to pricing to ordering office supplies. I had quite a few disappointments along the way, but I eventually became a product marketing manager. I then joined Aspect Communications, now known as Avaya. And I had a series of opportunities, one of which was in 1999 to move to the US on a 2-year assignment and help the company transform from a hardware to a software company. And I got a series of promotions along the way. I became a US employee, and then I got my green card and my citizenship. After that, I did my own independent consulting. I'll be over soon. Did my own independent consulting for 3 years. What I learned from that was some of my own personal values that I could bring to the companies using my network. But if I look back, I've always been in communications and the collaboration industry. I've been able to use my network to help me. My mentors have been male, and I have found that I've also been able to help companies with transformations. And ultimately, the long and the short of it is it's taken work, it's taken focus, and you eventually get there.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Danielle, we're going to go right to you at Contentsquare.
I started off thinking, I'm going to be in finance because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I quickly realized after an internship at one of the big investment firms, I was not cut out for that world. But I love the analyst side of it, and I actually became a technology market research analyst back in the day. I started my career at IDC, and I learned that technology was amazing. I mean, I fell into tech research. It was a network thing, somebody I went to college with, and there was an opportunity. I started off as a storage analyst, or as people in the storage industry might affectionately call it, snorage. But I love the technology. I still have a soft spot for, I mean, it's amazing when I think of aerial density, and this was before Flash was remotely something that you could store anything material with. Long story short, fast forward, once I moved into consumer tech, mobile tech, network infrastructure, telecom, and mobile in particular, at that intersection with consumer in the early to late 2000s, that decade, I was bitten by the bug. I will say, and then since then I've moved into growth stage companies in marketing roles, and that's when I realized I love marketing. There's a creative half of my brain I can use, and there's a data-driven analytical side of my brain, and it suits me really well. I will say, sadly, I did not have a female direct manager until I joined Contentsquare.
Wow.
And as you can tell, I'm not 27. So I've had amazing managers along the way. Crawford Del Prete was my first boss. He's the president of IDC, still in touch with him to this day. I've had amazing mentors that are men and women, but didn't have a female manager until I joined Contentsquare this August.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Genefa, you're the CMO at Five9, one of the fastest growing companies in cloud contact center. Tell us about your story.
So I also hail from the beautiful island of greyness that is the UK. So yeah, my story is a bit different actually. I actually started, I got into technology when I did my degree and I did my PhD. So my doctorate was in user adoption of new technology. Oh. What makes people adopt technology? And I worked with British Airways. At that time, self-service check-in was new, as were check-in kiosks. And so I worked with them to actually help adoption of their new technology at the time into their regional airports. And then from there, I joined HP. I went into product management and consulting. And so, I spent a lot of time working in a very male-dominated environment. Often I was hired as the only female on the product management team. It was a bit of a running joke. Hey, Genefa, you can be our female. You can be our diversity candidate. But I worked with great people, amazing people, and it was a joke, but they supported me tremendously, and they were excellent people to work with and gave me opportunities to go and then be part of our CTO office, continue in my role as product management. And then eventually I got into marketing. And I got into marketing because I thought I could do marketing better than the product marketing people, which I was wrong because I didn't know the full extent of marketing at that time and how complex it was and how you have to have the creative and the data. And then since then, I stayed with HP and Micro Focus for 13 years. I was part of the team that led the divestiture of HP software into Micro Focus, spent 4 years doing a digital transformation, building a completely new MarTech stack, optimizing the team. And then I joined Five9, which, as you said, Jim, high growth SaaS. We've had tremendous traction in the cloud contact center space and really enjoying my role as a CMO there. And I think, tech is still quite male-dominated, especially the contact center world, I would say. In sort of on the IT side, when I was at HP, I did a lot of security, app dev, IT operations. In contact center, it still feels pretty male-dominated. And so it's just interesting to continue to go through that journey. But I think the big thing that I've learned is to be me. I am who I am. And you're either going to like it or you're not. And I know what I can do, I know what I can't do, and I embrace that. And I hope that I will always continue to do that.
Awesome. So Kira's sitting next to me, and she is the Chief Innovation Officer at RingCentral, and she's been there a while, and she does a lot more than innovate. I might use the term warrior, but Kira, I'm going to let you tell your story.
Thanks. So interesting, they were trying to mic me, but I don't have any pockets. So they gave me a microphone. That just tells you that, while there's a lot more women, and this is all women panel, this is still, the equipment is built for men because they always have pockets. So, look, these are great stories. Mine is actually been always technology. I majored in computer science. I do have an MBA. That was a diversion, so to speak. And always worked in Silicon Valley. Was fortunate enough to come here with my family when I was a kid. So my life has always been in Silicon Valley, from college to one startup, second startup, my own several startups, and as Jim said, I landed in RingCentral when we were a much smaller company. And one of the things that I want to point back at, so if you look back in time, and that was almost 10 years back, here we have a table of RingCentral's women, and Faiza was there when I joined. She actually was there before I joined, but there were not that many women, especially at the executive level. And I remember my own offsite for my organization for products technology, and I took a picture of everybody at the offsite. There were 20 people, and there was one female on the team who couldn't make it. So there are 20 guys in that picture. That's it. That was my senior team, and that was maybe 2014, something like that. And that picture looks quite different today. And I think we should all be very proud of that, regardless of the company, I'm particularly proud of RingCentral, but I think it's true of every company, true of everybody who's joined me on this panel, that we've come a long way. And I really want to celebrate that as a journey, not of any one of individuals of us, but our own journey, because we can only make the journey when we help each other. And that is a really, really important part of women in technology, because it could get very lonely, and there were times when it was very lonely for me. I am kind of a geek by birth, I think. I always played with boys, you know, whether it was like playing whatever, tennis or bicycles or whatever, like a tomboy by nature. So that never fazed me. And that's the way my parents brought me up. And I was born in Russia, and, you know, I guess Jim says warrior, but that's kind of what you have to be if you grow up in the Soviet Union. You know, because what you do on Saturdays is they have these things on Saturdays which you have to work, basically, as a kid, you know, like collect trash, you know, that's, which, you know, was kind of good, builds character. And so sort of kind of hanging out with boys and men was not a big deal for me. And I remember early days of Silicon Valley where I would have to go into a cigar bar was a bunch of guys and pretend like I could smoke a cigar, which I never could. So we've come a long way where you actually don't have to do these things anymore, and you can be comfortable, and I think that goes a long way. And I do appreciate the support of all my colleagues who are here with me today, and that's I believe the journey to success is us working together.
I mean, I think these are inspirational stories, but now we're really going to peel the onion, which is in this time of change, whether we call it the hybrid work era, the post-pandemic era, how are you, now that you're a leader, how are you inspiring and motivating and helping to drive change within your realm of being, because you're all executives. And so let's just go down and start with Danielle and then work our way back up. So talk to me about that.
I think authenticity is at the core of any leader that is successful. To your point of, before Genefa, around, what you are, like what you can do, where you're weaker, et cetera. I think authenticity is at the core of that. I think as a leader, what has been really central is empathy, transparency, and to be productive, frankly, prioritization. I would sort of sum it up with those three. Empathy is something that I think comes very naturally to me. I had a couple minors in college, and one of them was psychology. My dad said, "Yeah, don't doing that for a living." But I love understanding where people are at and where they're trying to get. Like any problem, my last company had a nickname of the defense attorney. Because I was one of those people that was like, well, maybe they're saying that because of this, right? Because if you don't understand where someone's coming from or what the pain point is or what the underlying motivation is, you can't really find resolution and move ahead. And I think it's so central as a leader. The transparency piece comes in, I think it's quite obvious, but I'll tell, and I've been this way with teams for many, many years. I think early on I had more of a mask, right? As a younger person in my career, maybe less confidence, so to speak, second guessing maybe myself sometimes, even just because of that female lens as a leader. But I was able to become more and more transparent over time. And that comes up in how you hire. Mm-hmm. So I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. And I will hire teams. Think of it as a Venn diagram, right? I'm going to shore up those areas where I know A, the team needs, and B, it's not necessarily my forte, right? So transparency in how you lead, how you communicate, how you collaborate with your colleagues, right? I think is absolutely central. And bringing it home with in terms of setting those priorities. I think the rubber hits the road with why we're doing what we're doing. And I think from a professional standpoint in a corporate environment, I'm always going to put the company's needs first, right? Like, why are we doing this? It's not about me and my team. It's not even about my boss and her team, right? It's about what's the best interest of the company, because that's what will ultimately make us all successful. And I think that also allows me to then make those prioritization decisions and to say no at times, or not yet, or let's step on the gas here. And so I think philosophically, those are really central to who I am as a leader.
Awesome. Karen?
Yeah, I think the pandemic, during the pandemic, we all realized we could no longer have those in-person relationships. And that, over time has caused us, and especially when we were locked down for 18 months, we all realized how important those in-person relationships are. And without that, it's a chance for you to really start to change. And I think there's a bit of a female touch to this, because the one-on-one relationships that you need to have with your teams during projects is really understanding their values and their aspirations, and actually get to the feeling. As you said, being transparent. I go back to the Maya Angelou quote, which I love, is people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And I think during this time, it's been so important to bring that in to the corporation and ensure that teams are kept up to date, they're rewarded, and they understand where projects are. Because that in-person, face-to-face touch, now fingers crossed, we are moving to a hybrid model, but as we're still going through that phase, we've got to keep that high communication in place.
I think for me, if I say the word of the day, I'd say it'd be vulnerability, right? To build on the transparency and the trust and the personal side of it. I think the pandemic and over the past year, just having that vulnerability to say, well, nothing's ever perfect, right? And people seeing that reality, and did everyone have a great place to work from home? No, maybe you were working from the kitchen table, maybe you were working from the dining room, right? You had, me, I've got 2 small children. I've got a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old. My son loves to come in after, school and tell me about his day, some really fascinating piece of information, and I say that in the most beautiful bit of British sarcasm there, right in the middle of a Zoom meeting. And maybe prior, would I have sort of said, hey, no, Grayson, just let it be. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, kid, what do you want to tell me? Okay, excellent, now let's move on. But that vulnerability to just sort of say, hey, listen, we've all got that work-life integration that we've got to figure it out, whether it's your kids, whether it's your dog or your cat or your family or whatever it happens to be. And I just hope that doesn't go away, right? Because, I don't know, maybe I grew up in a family, my mother's Italian, my dad's British, the Italian side, as you can see from my hand movements. We're very family and friend-orientated people, and that's what I've loved, actually, about being able to be a leader and being able to be part of a team over these past 2 years, is just that sense of blending of work and personal life, which is actually really nice. And I can say that is one thing I struggled with when I came to the US. And my husband is American, and he was like, I don't get it. Why are you speaking to all these people outside of work that you work with? What is this? What is this interaction thing that's happening here? And we both work for the same company, and so he was like, okay, I now have to go to dinner with these people as well as work with them. I'm like, yes, you do, And so I hope that doesn't go away. That's my hope. We keep that vulnerability. We keep that sense of community. Because I think that's what makes amazing teams, and being real and having fun with it, right? I say to Scott and my teams here, next year, what do we want to do? Let's have some fun. I think there's a time for that. Let's achieve great business outcomes, but let's have some fun doing it.
it's actually hard to add to everything that's been said because I completely agree with everything that's been said. So I'll say, just this. I think I view my job as making people who work for me to make them successful, to make them achieve their goals, their aspirations, and to help them grow. That's really the gist of it. And if I can accomplish all of these things, then everything else just kind of lines up, and that's key. And one of the things that we all learned during the pandemic is it's indeed that to make all of this happen, you need to build a real fiber between people. And it's not just in your organization, it's across the company. And it's hard. It's hard to do without interactions. So while we were all on video, we did substitute with kind of getting to know each other, maybe even a little bit better, because we had to fill in these. Everybody's in. You get on video, and then you do what? You chit chat a little bit, right? And then your kids show up, your dog shows up, or somebody rings the doorbell, and so you kind of get to know your environment, and in that way, that kind of made up for not being in the same space, for not being able to have interactions like this, which I really do think are important. I kind of always say people work for people, and during the pandemic, you kind of almost lost this dimensionality of where you are and where everybody else is. And if you actually look at RingCentral video, everybody's everybody's flat, right? You're like in a two-dimensional world right now, and everybody is flat. And that was an interesting way of basically saying that we all have to work together, and that's what we learned during the pandemic, is that to survive something like this, we have to have this fiber that we build, that we are used to building in person. We have to learn how to build it virtually and sustain it.
Awesome. So we're going to kind of, just because of time, we're going to skip to the last question, which is the hardest question. And the question is about getting ahead. Every one of you here on the panel is an executive. So the question is, what advice do you have to give to everyone? Because, by the way, there is a glass ceiling for everyone. People get passed over all the time. But it's been a big issue with women in tech. So what advice would you have, Kira, to the audience and to the world abroad, because we are taping this, about this whole thing of how would you tell other people to manage their careers so they can get the job that they want to have, if they want that? How do they break through?
Everyone has aspirations and everybody has doubts. And the one thing that you have to remember is to be yourself. I think that's always number one. True to yourself. You can only be good at what you do by being true to yourself. And to succeed, you have to be, number one, good at what you do, confident, and apply all you've got to it, to give it that 110%. And I never think about the glass ceiling or the glass floor or whatever the glass is around me. I just, you go for what you want. You act as you would if you were. I used to play chess competitively. I mean, you fight, and you compete, and but you are cordial to your opponent. You shake their hand, and so that's what you do to get ahead. In my book, you work hard and you work in teams. The only way you can get ahead, women or men, I don't care, is collaboratively.
Let's go right down. Genefa.
Yeah, I think for me, be humble and be hungry, right? There's something to be said about just continually having that sense of humility and go and do whatever job is necessary to get the job done. I always say to my team, I would never ask anything of my team that I wouldn't do myself. And if I need to, go and do something and be on the ground with the team and get it done, I'm there. I don't care. And, sometimes like my team are like, oh, well, yeah, but you're the CMO. You shouldn't do that. No, I'm a part of this team. I'm a part of making this business successful. I'm a part of achieving the goal, and that's what you've got to go do. So I think having that humility and keeping it, and then just being hungry, right? Always having that sense of wanting to learn and wanting to do more and wanting to go explore other areas. Starting off as a consultant, I always got taught by one of my mentors, just always ask the question and always ask why and always go and do it. And I've tried to keep that. I always hear him in the back of my head, like, ask the question, Genefa, ask the question. And I think, just be hungry for doing great things and helping people be successful and helping people grow. So yeah, be humble and hungry, and those two things I think can get you pretty far.
Awesome.
Look, it took me longer to climb the ladder than some of my male peers that were on the same rung at the same time, but I stuck with it. And I had some amazing male mentors who gave me great insights and direction on my own personal journey. And you've got to take it as your personal journey. And I took some risks. I raised my hand and I said, yeah, I'll come to the US with 2 suitcases and a box of saucepans. And I was the only female that got transferred. I did my own independent consulting, and I took a risk on my professional network to help me get projects in the industry. And I think women in the workforce, it's gone a long way in terms of inclusion and equality, but there's still a long way to go. Mm-hmm. And so you have to take it and embrace it. And there's that great Steve Winwood song, while you see a chance, take it, because it's all on you. And it is all on you. It's all on you to raise your hand and take the opportunity. It's all on you to keep your professional network alive. It's all on you to focus on what you need, and ultimately be inspired, be in awe, and whether that's in awe of a leader or in awe of new technology, stay positive and keep on the journey.
Lots of great sentiments I agree with, hungry and humble in particular. I think the only thing I really would add is just constantly pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. I think that's applicable to everyone and in your personal life, right? It's, I left a job I loved because I was comfortable. And it completely changed the trajectory of my career. So I think just constantly learning, right? Challenging yourself. And along the way, bring along other underrepresented communities, because it's not just helping another woman along and so forth. The reality is, look around this room. It's really light-skinned. Yes, we have some Asian and South Asian representation, but so we've got work to do on multiple fronts.
Well, we could keep going all night, but we had an awesome panel. It's been one of the best women in tech panels we've had, and I really want to thank all of you. Let's give them a big hand. So Kira, Genefa, Karen, and Danielle, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, you left your champagne. Oh, we have a gift for each of you. Take your champagne.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Decorations.
Thank you, Genefa. Okay, so look, it's dinner. The rest of the night is just dinner. We're going to play some of the award sessions for hot vendors, women in tech, and our innovation award winners. So enjoy dinner and enjoy the networking, and thank you for coming.